Shout out to Ring RQ, Julius, you legend. We're going to do a joint interview, yeah? Yeah, we'll do a joint interview, Julius. Thanks for the support. You're a legend. From your girls, Raven and Ellie.
Welcome to the motherfucking relay. We're covering today's top boxing news. Ow!
Okay, we'll start with this. It's official.
Godford.
Ellie Scotney will be taking on Mary Romero on the undercard of Chris Eubank Jr. versus Conor Benn. We talked about this fight a little over a month ago.
Godford.
Bit of sleuthing uncovered Ellie Scotney's next professional contest, her next professional bout. She will be challenging the seasoned veteran Mary Romero for her blue belt, her EBU title.
Godford.
Obviously, my feelings haven't changed. I still favor Ellie Scotney to win the fight. Ellie Scotney, who I think has all the right experiences in her very young career.
Godford.
Having shared the ring with Melis Gangloff, former champion in Maria Cecilia Roman, and a former champion in Jorgelina Guanini, Ellie's ready for this. She's ready.
Godford.
Against an aggressive, come-forward pressure fighter that's going to try to rush you and rough you up, it takes a good balance of both offense and defense, and alternating between the two to secure the W, to seize the victory. You have to know when and where to assert yourself and when to lay off, when to fall back, not make it too easy on that pressure fighter to get within proximity of you, that there's going to be action. It's a given, but it happens on your terms.
It happens, but it happens when you want it to.
Not because the girl opposite the ring forces you into an exchange, forces you to trade. It happens because you want it to happen. Ellie Scotney has the right ingredients for this. In and out game. Speed knows feet and speed knows hands.
Godford.
I think she's ready. She will be opposite the ring, a very dangerous opponent that's no stranger to dishing out an unbeaten fighter their first professional loss. Mary Romero, she gave Amy Timlin her first professional loss. More recently, she gave Maria Secchi her first professional loss. I don't think she's going to have that luck with Ellie, though.
Godford.
Ellie Scotney on points seems the logical choice to me. Today's announcement also revealed that former WBA bantamweight champion Shakur Courtenay is going to be making her ring return.
Against seasoned Journeywoman Gemma Ruegg.
Get a load of this. Gemma Ruegg is supposed to be facing both Shakur Courtenay and Virginia Fuchs just a week apart from each other. She's supposed to be, at least based on her box rack, participating on two separate shows just a week apart. The Conor Benn versus Chris Eubank Jr. card and the Clarissa Shields versus Savannah Marshall card a week later.
You sure that's not a typo?
Well, it might be if Shannon knocks her out. I mean, what if Shannon goes in there and stops Gemma? Not saying that she will or won't, but what if she does? Wouldn't that affect Gemma's ability to participate in another show so soon after being stopped? Assuming she were to get stopped. She might not. It's been a while since Shannon had a fight. Better still, fighting two fighters like that, two good fighters like Shannon and Virginia.
America's own amateur standout Virginia Fuchs, who I talked about here on the channel.
A good friend to Michaela Mayer and Clarissa Shields. She comes from that amateur class, that amateur background, nicknamed the Captain, with good reason.
She's a hell of a fucking fighter, a spiteful southpaw. I saw her pro debut, and man alive, is she something.
If Gemma Ruegg is going to keep this schedule to where she fights Shannon Courtenay one weekend and Virginia Fuchs the next, well, if Shannon doesn't end up stopping her, Virginia might.
Talk about going through the gauntlet.
Gemma Ruegg, who has shared the ring with unbeaten Shannon Ryan, unbeaten Chloe Watson, who's also going to be boxing on this undercard. She's going to be on the undercard of Conor Benn versus Chris Eubank Jr., and we'll talk about her fight in another video. Yet another talented, unbeaten up-and-comer I've got my eye on.
But yeah, you know, Gemma Ruegg, she's been around the block, fought a couple of good fighters, unbeaten ones.
Now she's supposed to be opposite the ring, the former WBA bantamweight champion Shannon Courtenay, who has been out a while.
A while? I'd say it's been a while. It's been a year. She was last in action in October of last year. The loss to Jamie Mitchell.
Listen, I understand that Shannon Courtenay's not everybody's sweetheart. I get it. But that was a tough sequence of fights last year. From the hard-punching, close-quarters fighter Ebony Bridges, unbeaten at the time, to hard-punching Jamie Mitchell, also unbeaten at the time. Two hard fights for the then-champion Shannon Courtenay. She had to
undergo surgery. I told you there was something wrong with her knee or her ankle. Something was wrong there in that Jamie Mitchell fight, and she had to get it corrected.
Not asking you to like Shannon Courtenay. I'm just telling you, those were the circumstances. And whether you like her or not, Shannon Courtenay is a better fighter than what she showed in that Jamie Mitchell fight.
And that's not a knock on Jamie. Jamie did her job. She did what she was supposed to do. She capitalized.
But I'd be lying to you if I told you that it didn't matter. That Shannon Courtenay, whose bread and butter is movement, not just punching power, she's not just a big right hand, she's a mover.
Yeah, I'd be lying to you if I told you that that knee issue didn't hamper her performance. I wholeheartedly believe that it did.
And I wholeheartedly believe that with two good legs under her, Shannon Courtenay can give Jamie Mitchell a better fight than the fight that she gave her in October of last year. She's set to return to action this October of this year against Gemma Ruegg, and in all likelihood, she's going to beat Gemma. She just needs to get some rounds in the bank. This may turn out to be Shannon's only fight the whole of this year, unless they can get her back out there before this year is out in either November or December.
Maybe they can.
Shannon has to shake off the ring rust. She has to shake off the cobwebs.
That's the first order of business.
That's what she's going to do next month on the undercard of Conor Ben versus Chris Eubank Jr. Keep your eyes peeled for her ring return. In men's super middleweight news, I'm sure most of you have heard by now that Queensberry Promotions has once again won the rights for the Demetrius Andrade versus Zach Parker WBO interim title fight. They previously won the rights to the fight with a winning bid of $1.8 million against Matchroom, who bid $1.7 million. This time, no one else bid on the fight except for Queensberry.
And Frank Warren must have been confident that no one else was going to bid on the fight because he placed a winning bid of just $300,000.
He must have been confident that no one else wanted the rights for this fight. Otherwise, he would have put up more money like he did the last time when he was up against Matchroom for the rights to this fight. This doesn't bode well for Demetrius Andrade because now he's at the mercy of Frank Warren. Now, don't misunderstand me. I don't think that the overall pot...
This is about leverage. Frank Warren and Queensberry have all the leverage in this situation.
They've done what they have to do to ensure that Zach Parker retains that cushy spot by way of the WBO's ranked standings to either become Canelo's mandatory at some point or pick up the newly vacated title should the title go vacant. They've secured that, and they've done what they had to do to secure Zach Parker's top spot. And at this point, it's up to Demetrius whether or not he wants to go through with this, based on the size of the pot, which is a very humble, very meager $300,000.
You wonder that he shouldn't have stayed at middleweight and defended his title against his mandatory there, Yanni Bekalim Kanuli, because at least as a defending champion, he had a bit more leverage in the situation. Here and now...
He's screwed. Frank's got all the leverage. Frank's going to offer him to do this thing, whatever he's going to offer him. And if Demetrius don't like it, and Demetrius walks away, it doesn't affect Zach. Zach keeps that cushy spot by way of the WBO's ranked standings, and Demetrius, who knows where he goes from here?
So maybe Demetrius should have stayed at middleweight and kept his alphabet title, because at least with that title, he had a bit more leverage in the situation.
As a defending champion, he did. They couldn't just offer him any old offer. Peanuts on the dollar. No, not as a defending champion, but here and now, he's none of those things. He is at the mercy of Frank Warren.
A strange situation for what was an amateur standout, an Olympian, a two-division champion.
With his O intact, still unbeaten, but that goes back to what I always tell you guys. Unbeaten records, unblemished ones, that don't always equal marquee value. Unfortunately for Demetrius, he just ain't got that. He's a skilled guy, southpaw.
But he never had much marquee value, he didn't. He has no signature fights.
You're talking about getting on a plane to participate in a Frank Warren show where you're going to be the away fighter. You're going to Derby, my friend.
To fight one of Frank Warren's boys on a Frank Warren show for what amount of money?
Less than what you were going to make before you pulled out of this thing injured. It just is what it is, and I don't know if Demetrius is actually going to go through with this.
I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't. Look at the size of the pot.
I don't know what this guy's going to do. In men's super featherweight news, I'm sure most of you have heard already that Shakur Stevenson blew the weight earlier today ahead of what's supposed to be his showdown with former Olympian medalist Robson Conceição tomorrow night. He confirmed he will not make 130 pounds and has so been stripped of his WBC and WBO super featherweight world titles.
There was a quote from Shakur many weeks ago that unless his next fight, beyond this one,
unless his next fight after the Robson Conceição fight was going to be a unification match with one of the other two champions at this weight, he wasn't going to come back to 130 pounds. He wouldn't be coming back to super featherweight. He's been hinting at it for a while, that he's going to be moving up to lightweight, and it's going to be soon.
No, I don't think anybody expected that it would be this soon, but it is what it is.
Shakur Stevenson's got a very big frame, very young guy, whose body is still growing, and I wholeheartedly believe that he simply outgrew the division. He outgrew the weight. That doesn't make it any excuse, any less unprofessional for him to miss the weight by a little over a pound.
But I'll tell you something, it's somewhat inconsequential because he was planning on leaving this division anyway.
It's really not like when David Benavidez missed the weight, blew it in 2020, lost his title on the scales, but decided to stay in the super middleweight division anyway. It's not like that because Shakur doesn't plan on staying at 130 pounds. He's going to move up to 135 pounds, and there's a whole pool of guys there for him to fight. So he's not necessarily stuck in a rut between a rock and a hard place, the way that David Benavidez is, to where he wants a Canelo fight, but he can't get it, and he can't seem to get any fights on his own side of the street. That's not the situation for Shakur. He'll have plenty to choose from up there at 135 pounds.
Shakur Stevenson, who said, I gave it my all.
I've been professional my whole career and made weight, but my body just can't make 130 anymore. My health has to come first. I'm moving up to 135 pounds in my next fight. If both the WBO and WBC titles are now vacant, and Shakur ends up beating Robson Conceição the way I think he's going to end up beating Robson Conceição,
The United Kingdom's own Archie Sharp is ranked at number 1 by way of the WBO. Ranked right behind him is Robson Conceição, but if he loses tomorrow, he will lose ground.
and ranked right behind Robson Conceição is none other than Mexico's own Oscar Valdez, who, beyond tomorrow's fight, may find himself in a pole position to become a champion again in this division.
All of that's by way of the WBO. By way of the WBC, America's own O'Shaquie Foster.
Pro Bellum's own O'Shaquie Foster, who inked a pact with the fledgling promotional outfit late last year in November and was last in action over there in Dubai
Against Yakubov in March of this year.
He's ranked at number 1 by way of the WBC. Similar situation to what we just saw by way of the WBO. Once again, Robson Conceição is ranked at number 2. But if he loses tomorrow, he will lose ground. And ranked right behind Robson is Oscar Valdez.
Oscar's got 2 legitimate routes to an alphabet title. Perhaps the alphabets can work something out to where they set up
A joint venture. You know, because I don't think Robson's going to win tomorrow. I think the titles are going to stay vacant. And because the titles are going to stay vacant and the number 1 and number 3 guys are the same across both alphabet organizations, why not set up a dual title fight for both alphabet titles between O'Shaquie Foster and Oscar Valdez? That makes a lot of sense to me, but that's just if you're asking me.
As far as Shakur missing a weight, yeah, it's unprofessional.
I mean, I believe him when he says that he couldn't get down any lower because he's actually quite big for a super featherweight. I think this kid probably tops out at either 140 or 147 pounds down the line. That might be a ceiling, but here today he's still young, he's still growing, and he's outgrown the super featherweight division. And while that's no excuse,
No, it's no excuse. It's unprofessional.
it'll be inconsequential to him anyway because he's moving up after this fight. And finally, ahead of what's supposed to be Floyd's next exhibition excursion with Mikuru Asakura in Japan, Floyd Mayweather hinted at a potential Conor McGregor rematch.
Who the fuck wants to see that?
Floyd Mayweather indicated the two are set to square off for a second time next year. I want to go out this weekend and have fun against Mikuru Asakura, then have another exhibition in Dubai in November, and me and Conor McGregor in 2023, he said in an interview. We don't know if it's going to be an exhibition or a real fight, but there's been talks of both. I would prefer an exhibition.
Become a bit of a running gag that Floyd Mayweather in retirement keeps a more active schedule than some active boxers.
Floyd Mayweather admits he is looking to avoid fights where he may take any real punishment, hence the preference for an exhibition. So guys like Conor McGregor and guys that don't really hit hard, such as YouTubers or UFC guys, I don't really mind colliding with those kinds of individuals, but nothing where I'm going to put myself in a position where I am going to harm myself or hurt myself, Mayweather said.
Dana White refuted those claims that rematch is underway.
UFC founder Dana White said, all bullshit. Those guys are just talking on social media like they do. Whatever the hell that tabloid is called, it's full of shit. And you know what? Dana White might be onto something because Conor McGregor himself responded to those claims that there's a rematch underway, saying in so many words, hashtag not interested.
And why would he be? He's making a killing out there with his whiskey, Proper 12.
He's set to appear on the silver screen in a reboot of Roadhouse, the old Patrick Swayze movie. He's got movie money coming in, whiskey money coming in.
Whatever the hell else he's getting into, he's not strapped for cash. That's essentially what I'm getting at. He really doesn't have to fight anymore if he doesn't want to.
But Floyd's situation is a little bit more concerning because he says that he's getting out there because he just wants to have some fun.
They're attaching his name to guys like Asakura and Deji, KSI's younger brother.
The rich want to stay rich, I get it, but the frequency of these exhibitions, it seems to be indicative of something. Mayweather has said he will make $15 million to $20 million for his exhibition fight with Mikuru Asakura in Japan this weekend. It's cool, 9 minutes, $20 million, not bad.
Is that what they're paying him for that exhibition match? $20 million?
According to Floyd it is. According to Conor, it isn't. Conor said, he being Floyd Mayweather, he made $100 million to spar the Logan guy, yet never made the Forbes list top 100. He hasn't cleared $20 million in one full year since 2017, when we fought the last time. Otherwise, he'd have been on the list. He hasn't made the list since 2017. In other words, he's full of shit.
And I don't know, a lot of people are starting to feel, based on the amount of times Floyd is getting out there these days,
that he's broke, and that's why he's in such a hurry to schedule exhibition match on top of exhibition match with guys like Deji and now Conor McGregor. I mean, why would he want to revisit an exhibition match with Conor McGregor? An obvious financial incentive, I know, but do you really have to do that again?
You haven't even finalized the exhibition match with Deji, which is supposed to be going down later on this year, and you're already looking ahead?
Ahead to a Conor McGregor rematch next year, but Conor and Dana White,
they're both saying the same thing. There's no truth to it. No dice.
The telltale sign of a fat and happy fighter is a fighter that isn't fighting, whereas Floyd, he's fighting more often than some active boxers, even if it is just in exhibition matches, and the frequency of them is actually increasing.
Like I said, you don't see Conor McGregor in any hurry to jump back into the octagon or jump back into the squared circle because he's making money elsewhere.
And I understand that Floyd's not the only one scheduling exhibition matches. Manny Pacquiao has one coming up.
It's not just that he's participating in exhibition matches, it's how many of these things he's scheduling.
It just starts to feel like it's coming from a need rather than a want.
I don't know. Make of that what you will.